February 22nd, 2025. Memphis, Tennessee. The clock strikes 9:45 p.m. at the Starlight Inn on South 3rd Street. 3 people sit inside a parked 2007 Ford Edge, completely unaware that their lives are about to change forever.
She was a good mom. I mean, no one should not be raised by their parents or to lose their parents in such a tragedy.
Terrica Tabor's aunt told Fox 13 she can't even imagine the final moments of her niece's life. She didn't want to be on camera in fear of retaliation. She says Tabor has 3 children, all under the age of 10. She says the mother of 3 was shot and killed on the 22nd.
A woman approaches the vehicle. Without warning, without provocation, she raises a gun and fires directly into the car. The shots ring out across the parking lot. Panic erupts. One of the 3 people inside has been struck in the head by the gunfire. Within minutes, sirens pierce the night air. Emergency responders race to save a life hanging in the balance.
3 young children growing up without their mother after police say she was gunned down last week in southwest Memphis. This happened on South 3rd Street near Peebles Road last Saturday. Well, tonight, the victim's family spoke only to Fox 13.
Let's go to Fox 13, Sierra Jordan. She's live from the Rains Police Precinct. So, Sierra, you spoke with the family, and they identified the victim.
Memphis police say officers responded to a shooting at the 2900 block of South 3rd Street around 9 p.m. When officers arrived, they found a female victim in critical condition and transported her to Regional 1. The victim was later identified as 29-year-old Terrica Tabor, but Tabor did not survive her injuries.
This is a calculated murder of a 29-year-old mother of 3 children, and the person who pulled that trigger would spend the next 5 months running from justice. Drop a comment and let me know what you think about this story. Welcome to our channel. Please like this video, share and subscribe to this channel to help raise awareness and spread caution. Let's begin. What drove someone to walk up to a parked car and open fire on complete strangers? How did investigators track down a killer who thought she could disappear into the shadows? This is a story of Terrica Tabor's final moments and the hunt for the woman who ended her life in cold blood. Terrica Tabor was living her life as any 29-year-old mother would. She had 3 children who depended on her, loved ones who counted on her presence, and dreams that extended far beyond the struggles many face in Memphis. Those who knew Terrica describe her as someone trying to build a better future for her family. On that February evening, Terrica wasn't alone. She sat in the passenger seat of the Ford Edge, accompanied by her boyfriend, who was behind the wheel, and her sister, who occupied the back seat. The 3 had found themselves at the Starlight Inn, a budget motel that serves as temporary housing for many in the area. It's the kind of establishment where people land when they're between places, work and get back on their feet, or simply need an affordable roof over their heads at night. The Starlight Inn sits on the 2900 block of South 3rd Street, in a part of Memphis where economic challenges are visible on every corner. It's not the safest neighborhood, but it's home to hardworking people trying to make ends meet. For Terrica, this was simply where circumstances had brought her that night. At exactly 9:45 p.m., their peaceful evening exploded into chaos. Jenae Bradley, a 31-year-old woman, walked directly up to their parked vehicle. There was no conversation, no attempted robbery, no apparent motive that witnesses could identify. Bradley simply approached the car, shouted threats, and began firing her weapon. The first shot struck Terrica directly in the head. The sound echoed across the motel parking lot as other guests scrambled for safety. Terrica's boyfriend and sister watched in horror as the woman they loved collapsed from the devastating injury. Bradley didn't stop with one shot. She continued firing multiple rounds into the vehicle before fleeing the scene. Emergency services received the call within minutes. Paramedics arrived to find Terrica in critical condition, fighting for her life. They immediately began life-saving measures as they prepared to transport her to Regional 1 Hospital, Memphis's Level 1 trauma center. Her family raced to the hospital, praying for a miracle that would never come. The medical team at Regional 1 worked frantically to save Terrica's life, but the damage from the gunshot wound was too severe. This young mother, who had been laughing and talking with her loved ones just moments before, was gone. 3 children had lost their mother. A community had lost another promising life to senseless violence. News of the shooting spread quickly through Memphis. Friends and family struggled to understand how someone could commit such a brutal act against Terrica, who had no criminal history and no known enemies. She wasn't involved in drugs, gangs, or any activity that might explain why someone would target her. This appeared to be a completely random act of violence that had stolen an innocent life. The tragedy highlighted a harsh reality about violence in Memphis. Too often, people become victims simply by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Terrica's death wasn't the result of any choices she made or any lifestyle she led. She was murdered because she happened to be sitting in a car when a stranger decided to open fire. Memphis Police Department responded to the shooting call at the Starlight and within minutes of the 9/11 report. Officers arrived to find a chaotic scene with witnesses scattered across the motel parking lot, some hiding behind vehicles, others trying to help the victims. The crime scene stretched across multiple areas as investigators began piecing together what had occurred. Detective units immediately began securing evidence from the Ford Edge where Terrica had been shot. Shell casings littered the ground around the vehicle, indicating the shooter had fired multiple rounds. The investigators interviewed Terrica's boyfriend and sister, both of whom had witnessed the entire attack. Their account provided crucial details about the sequence of events. They described how the shooter had approached without warning, shouted threats they couldn't clearly understand, and then began firing. Neither victim had ever seen the attacker before, ruling out any personal connection or ongoing dispute. The boyfriend told detectives that the woman appeared to be targeting their vehicle specifically, walking directly toward them rather than approaching randomly. The breakthrough came from the Starlight in security system. The motel maintained surveillance cameras that had captured portions of the incident. While the footage wasn't perfect due to lighting conditions and camera angles, investigators could clearly see a woman approaching the parked Ford Edge and the violent confrontation that followed. Investigators spent hours analyzing the surveillance footage frame by frame. They enhanced images where possible and created still photographs that could be used in identification procedures. The video clearly showed this was an intentional, targeted attack rather than a random shooting or robbery gone wrong. The evidence also revealed troubling details about the shooter's behavior. She had approached the vehicle with confidence, suggesting familiarity with using firearms. The multiple shots indicated a determination to ensure the attack was fatal. This wasn't someone acting in panic or self-defense. This was someone committed to murder. Memphis police began canvassing the neighborhood for additional surveillance cameras from nearby businesses. They also checked with local hospitals in case the shooter had been injured during the incident. Every lead was pursued as investigators worked around the clock to identify the person responsible for taking Terrica's life. Have you ever witnessed something like this happen in your community? The senseless violence that tears apart families and leaves entire neighborhoods questioning their safety? Share your experiences in the comments below and let us know what you think communities can do to prevent tragedies like this one. Investigators prepared a 6-person photo lineup that included images of women who matched the general description provided by witnesses. The photographs were carefully selected to ensure fairness. All subjects were similar in age, race, and general appearance to avoid any bias in the identification process. When Terrica's boyfriend and sister were shown the lineup, their response was immediate and certain. Both independently identified the same individual, Jenae Bradley, a 31-year-old Memphis woman who was already known to local law enforcement from previous encounters. The positive identification from multiple witnesses gave investigators the probable cause they needed to obtain an arrest warrant. On February 26, 2025, just 4 days after Terrica's murder, Memphis police secured warrants charging Jenae Bradley with first-degree murder and aggravated assault. The search for Bradley intensified as investigators realized she might have fled Memphis entirely. They checked with transportation hubs, monitored social media accounts, and reached out to contacts in other cities where she might have connections. Every lead was pursued, but Bradley seemed to have vanished. Memphis police issued public alerts about Bradley being wanted for murder, hoping someone in the community will provide information about her whereabouts. Her photograph was distributed to media outlets and shared on social media platforms. The department wanted to ensure that Bradley could move freely without someone recognizing her face. The case began attracting attention beyond Memphis as well. Regional law enforcement agencies were notified about Bradley's fugitive status. If she had crossed state lines, federal authorities might need to become involved in tracking her down. The investigation revealed no apparent connection between Bradley and Terrica Tabor. This supported witness accounts that the attack appeared random, at least from Terrica's perspective. However, investigators suspected that Bradley might have had some reason for targeting that specific vehicle, even if Terrica herself was unaware of any conflict. Months passed with no sign of Bradley. The trail seemed to grow colder with each week that went by. Terrica's family continued to grieve while wondering if justice would ever be served. The Memphis community watched as another violent crime appeared to go unpunished, with the perpetrator successfully evading consequences for her actions. The task force employed various strategies in their search. They monitored financial activity, tracked communication patterns, and maintained surveillance on locations where Bradley might appear. They also worked to develop informants within Bradley's social circle who might provide information about her location. The breakthrough came through patient police work and community pressure. Task force members spent considerable time interviewing Bradley's known associates, applying pressure, and offering incentives for cooperation. They made it clear that harboring a fugitive could result in serious charges for anyone helping Bradley avoid arrest. Eventually, this strategy began to pay dividends. People within Bradley's circle started to understand that protecting her was putting themselves at legal risk. The task force's persistent efforts to work with these associates gradually created cracks in the wall of silence that had protected Bradley for months. In July 2025, 5 months after the murder warrant was issued, the task force received the call they had been waiting for. Bradley's associates had convinced her that continuing to run was futile and that her best option was to surrender. The mounting pressure from law enforcement and the toll of living as a fugitive had finally broken her resolve. On July 15, 2025, Jenae Bradley walked into a Memphis police station and turned herself into authorities. The moment marked the end of a 5-month manhunt that had involved multiple law enforcement agencies and countless hours of investigative work. Bradley was immediately booked on the outstanding charges of first-degree murder and aggravated assault. Her bond was set at $90,000, reflecting both the serious nature of the charges and her demonstrated willingness to flee from justice. The court wanted to ensure she would remain in custody while awaiting trial. The arrest brought relief to Terrica's family, who had spent months wondering if Bradley would ever face consequences for her actions. While nothing could bring Terrica back, the family felt that progress toward justice had finally been made. For the Memphis Police Department and the task force, Bradley's surrender represented the successful conclusion of a challenging fugitive investigation. Their persistence and methodical approach had eventually forced Bradley to realize that she couldn't run forever. The charges of first-degree murder and aggravated assault carry severe penalties under Tennessee law, including the possibility of life imprisonment without parole. Prosecutors felt confident in their evidence, particularly given surveillance footage and multiple witness identifications. For Terrica's family, the arrest marked just the beginning of a long journey through the criminal justice system. While they were relieved that Bradley was in custody, they knew that achieving actual justice would require patience as the legal process unfolded. The family faced the additional challenge of helping Terrica's 3 children cope with their mother's loss while pursuing accountability for her death. The impact of Terrica's murder extended far beyond her immediate family. The shooting at the Starlight Inn highlighted ongoing concerns about safety in Memphis, particularly in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods where violence seems to strike with heartbreaking frequency. What do you think should happen to Jenae Bradley? Should someone who commits such a senseless act of violence face life in prison? Or are there other consequences that might better serve justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know how your community deals with preventing violence like this. The ongoing legal proceedings would ultimately determine Bradley's fate, but Terrica's case had already left a lasting impact on Memphis. Her death served as a reminder of how quickly violence can destroy lives and families, while also demonstrating the importance of never giving up in the pursuit of justice. Terrica Tabor's murder represents far more than a single act of violence. It reveals the devastating ripple effects that occur when someone makes a decision to take another person's life. Understanding these broader implications helps us grasp why cases like this matter so much to communities, and why the pursuit of justice extends beyond simply punishing the perpetrator. The most immediate impact falls on Terrica's 3 children, who must now navigate life without their mother. These young people face challenges that no child should endure. Growing up with the knowledge that their mother was murdered, dealing with trauma and grief, and missing out on all the moments they should have shared with her. The effects of this violence will influence their lives for decades to come, affecting their relationships, their sense of security, and their understanding of the world. Terrica's case also demonstrates the critical importance of witness cooperation in solving violent crimes. Without the courage of her boyfriend and sister to work with investigators, and without other motel guests who provided statements, this case might never have been solved. Their willingness to participate in photo lineups and provide testimony created a foundation that led to Jenae Bradley's identification and eventual arrest. The role of technology in modern criminal investigations cannot be overlooked either. The surveillance cameras at the Starlight Inn provided crucial evidence that corroborated witness accounts and helped identify the shooter. This case shows how security systems, when properly maintained and positioned, can serve as silent witnesses that help ensure violent criminals don't escape justice. The 5-month manhunt that followed the initial investigation reveals another important lesson about the persistence required in law enforcement. The Tennessee Regional Violent Fugitive Task Force didn't give up when Bradley initially evaded capture. Their methodical approach, working with associates and applying steady pressure, eventually forced Bradley to surrender. This dedication sends a message that fleeing from justice is not a viable long-term strategy. For communities dealing with violence, Terrica's case highlights the importance of supporting both victims' families and the broader effort to prevent future tragedies. The vigils and memorial services organized in her honor serve multiple purposes. They provided comfort to those grieving, they demonstrated community solidarity against violence, and they created opportunities for people to discuss solutions to the underlying problems that contribute to such incidents. Cases like Terrica's remind us that behind every crime statistic is a real person with family, friends, dreams, and potential. Terrica wasn't just another victim. She was a 29-year-old mother trying to build a better life for her children. Her death represents the loss of everything she might have accomplished and contributed to her community. The randomness of this attack also teaches us about the vulnerability we all face. Terrica wasn't involved in any dangerous activities or risky behaviors. She was simply sitting in a car with family members when violence found her. This reality can be frightening, but it also emphasizes why creating safer communities benefits everyone. As of today, Jenae Bradley remains in custody awaiting trial for first-degree murder of Terrica Tabor and aggravated assault charges. The legal process continues to move forward, with both prosecution and defense teams preparing for what promises to be a significant trial. The surveillance footage, witness testimony, and other evidence collected during the investigation will play crucial roles in determining Bradley's ultimate fate. For Terrica's family, no verdict can bring back their beloved mother, daughter, and sister. However, they continue to seek justice not only for Terrica, but also as a statement that such senseless violence will not go unpunished in Memphis. Their strength throughout this ordeal serves as an inspiration to other families who have lost loved ones to violence. The case stands as a testament to the dedication of law enforcement officers who refuse to let violent criminals escape justice. From the initial responding officers to the specialized fugitive task force members who tracked Bradley down, this investigation demonstrates the collaborative effort required to solve complex cases and hold dangerous individuals accountable. Terrica Tabor's memory lives on through her 3 children and the community members who refuse to let her death be forgotten. Her case has sparked important conversations about violence prevention, community safety, and supporting families affected by crime. These discussions represent her lasting legacy and the positive change that can emerge from even the most tragic circumstances. If you found this case as compelling as we did, please subscribe to True Crime Station and hit that notification bell so you never miss our in-depth investigations. Share this video with others who appreciate thorough true crime coverage, and let us know in the comments what cases you'd like us to cover next. Remember to stay safe out there, and always be aware of your surroundings. While we can't prevent all violence, we can work together to create communities where people like Terrica Tabor can live without fear becoming victims of senseless crimes. Thank you for joining us on True Crime Station, where we honor victims by telling their stories and pursuing the truth. Until next time, keep seeking justice.